Thanks for joining us. This is 3 Random Records. I'm Robert John Hadfield.
Gary Casella.
Gary. We've known each other for 1,000,000 years or 1,000,001, somewhere right in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I think it's actually 31.
And so, yeah, it's been a long time.
But it is a good time.
So we're here to talk about, we do this, put out these little videos where we talk about records. We got a massive record collection, and to make it worth carrying around all these years, I thought, you know what, it's going to start doing something for me, and we're going to start using it, so we're making a show. We're in the Thick and Mystic studio in St. George, Utah, and the company that kind of pays all the bills around here, keeps us going, is called Audio Mover. If you have old audio and videotapes you need to convert to digital, go to audiomover.com and you can send in your audio and videotapes, and been doing it for 20 years. No other company has been doing it for as long and as successfully. So all the others that are kind of moving in are all brand new and they don't have the passion or the experience with it. So if you want it done right, audiomover.com. Yeah. So we're going to bust out a few records.
Let's do it.
The first few here today that we're going to do, these were, we actually, the first one is not random at all. Wanted Steve to bust this one out simply because today, the day we're filming, Charlie Watts, I got the news earlier today that he died.
Yeah, from Rolling Stones.
From Stones, yeah. And such an important person in rock music history, Charlie Watts. You can't, I mean, it's hard to overstate how important his role is in the world of popular music and rock music. So
yeah, I mean, he's been with them since day one.
I mean, he's in the Rolling Stones. What else do you need to say?
Right.
You know, I mean, he's the drummer for the Rolling Stones.
Right. And he had a unique look. I kind of dug that about him. He always looked classy and kind of, I mean, you had Mick and Keith, you know, out there, and he was always kind of just take care of business.
Him and Bill Wyman had that just
take care of business, man.
Yeah, almost bored. They had that look on their face, like, here to do a job, and I'm doing it.
But they can also, no matter how calm they can be, they can say at any given point, you know, I'm in the effing Rolling Stones, right?
What else needs to be said?
What more can I say?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So Steve's going to bust it out since we're talking about mentioning the Stones. Yeah, this is just quintessential, one of their great albums, Let It Bleed. And I always just absolutely loved this cover. The weird, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah,
kind of the sandwich thing with cake and the tire and the little figurines up top, and I loved this cover.
Pancake. You know, we talk about this is something you look at and you go, wait, what? I wonder, you know, when, you know, obviously I wasn't out there getting it, maybe not even born by the time this came out, but Let It Bleed, and then you have the Beatles coming out with Let It Be, right? Or I don't know.
You know, that's interesting.
It's kind of a weird thing.
Maybe Steve can look this up, because I don't know. I didn't look ahead of time what year this came out, and I don't know. I don't know what year this came out.
But I mean,
this one still had Brian Jones in it, so this was early on. This is an early album. I mean, had some of their greatest tunes on here too.
Yeah, got some great stuff. Like kind of the old school Needle.
Yeah,
it is cool, and you got the name and the logo.
Yep.
It's
And then when you flip it over, you get the After, which is kind of neat. See how it's all kind of a mess, and it's all been obviously chewed up and eaten and falling apart, and so I always loved that. Came out in 1969. When did Brian Jones die? I thought he died before that.
I thought it was 1970.
Was it 1970?
I think it was right after this.
Because he was kicked out of the band, and then he drowned, like not long after.
Oh, so maybe he played on it?
Maybe, because I know that he's got songwriting credit in here. Yeah, he plays in here too.
Yeah.
I don't know about the songwriting, but I know he plays in there. So somebody's trying to call through one of our computers. But anyway, this album, one of my
3 Random Records. Is that you know, Brian Jones calling from Afterlife?
Could be. Whoa, weird. Yeah. So one of the things, it was interesting, there was a song that I was introduced to that's on this album that I didn't hear this version first.
Okay.
And it's can't believe I'm not thinking straight. It's Gimme Shelter. So you know who else did a version of Gimme Shelter? And this is when I was first introduced to the song. It was Grand Funk.
Okay.
Grand Funk did a version of Gimme Shelter, and it's really, really cool.
I
started thinking of Street Fighting Man, but it's Gimme Shelter, and that's the one that the Grand Funk does. Are you familiar with Grand Funk much at all? Grand Funk Railroad. They started out as Grand Funk Railroad, and then became Grand Funk.
You know, my some of those bands back then, they were kind of peripheral.
Mark Farner had this just killer voice and presence, and he looked so cool. He was a guitarist and singer. Then you had Mel Shacher. I don't know how you say his last name. He's the bass player. He's a classic 70s bass player. And then Don Brewer was the drummer, and he also sang lead. And between the two of these guys, man, they were the two singers. They were just crazy. It was just a three-piece Grand Funk. They were amazing. But anyway, they did a version of this tune.
The one dude from the Eagles was with them.
Whatever that was is totally different thing.
Right.
Yeah. But they did "Gimme Shelter," which is one of their classic great tunes. And when you listen to this version of it, there's actually a point in there because you get halfway through and then you have one of those ladies singing that really high part. And if you listen very closely, you'll hear the lady's voice crack. And then you hear, I think it's Mick Jagger do go, woo, or something like that right after it happens.
Right.
And so you need to go in there and listen to it. It's right about halfway through the tune because she comes in, oh, baby, just a shot away, just a shot away. That really high voice, and you hear
she's belting.
It's crazy cool, man. I love it. And this, it's another example also of why Keith Richards is, in fact, one of the greatest guitarists ever. I don't care what anybody says. The guy is just, everything he plays is perfect, and it's excellent. And when you listen to his guitar playing in there, just the oh my gosh, he's good. I mean, it's so understated. It's executed in that kind of sloppy rock and roll way that is so perfect in its imperfection. And I wouldn't want any of that stuff any other way than the way he does it. I love his guitar playing. So good.
Some of the stuff here is that I think bands in this era and the Stones is, like you said, it's sloppy imperfection. It's not every note is exactly auto-tuned perfect. And so you have that piece that makes it...
It's got life.
Yeah. It makes it sound like, dude, this is awesome. It's not so spot on. Whether he's playing a little bit ahead or a little bit behind the beat or whatever the case is, because Keith kind of does the Keith thing. It doesn't really...
There's nobody like him.
And, I mean, the Stones, they got such... We were talking about that earlier, what a catalog of material and great songs. And they collaborated with some pretty awesome talent along the way.
Oh, yeah.
So,
matter of fact, even on this, I think it was Al Cooper, I think, is in here or something. We'll have to look in a second. But just going through a couple of these tunes, Midnight Rambler, everybody knows that song, so that was a big hit. Gimme Shelter, that's, like I said, the one. That's another one. The one, though, of course, you can't always get what you want. That is, talk about lyrics.
Yeah.
I saw her today at the reception, a glass of wine in her hand. And she knew she was going to meet her connection in her head. Oh my gosh! Now I shouldn't have started saying it. Now I'm forgetting it.
Dude, I can't believe that you can pull read the song title and you can remember.
The lyrics in that tune, everything where he starts talking about went down to the Chelsea drugstore to get my prescription filled. Something next to Mr. Jimmy. And man, did he look pretty ill. We decided that we would get a soda. My favorite flavor, cherry red. I turned to... Anyway, I'm sorry. I love those lyrics. Oh, I went down to the demonstration to get my fair share of abuse. I mean, that line...
That's pretty amazing, right?
Went down to the demonstration to get my fair share of abuse. Oh my gosh! I mean, he was such, and he's under people like Mick Jagger, and it's just Mick Jagger in general is so underappreciated in the lyrics. Like for example, the song "Street Fightin' Man," the references. Oh no, forget that one. How about "Sympathy for the Devil"? The references he makes to all these historical things, and that song alone, "Sympathy for the Devil," tying all these historical references together and coming to this conclusion that who is the devil? It's us. And that's what, and it's like, how do you come up where this rock and roll kind of front man with the crazy dancing, all this stuff is pumping out these just deep, heavy, thoughtful lyrics to this dance beat.
Where do you think some of that kind of comes?
So good.
I mean, inspiration, right? Where does that come from? Whether it's, the blues inspiration that they were deep.
That's
into.
and that's where all all of them came from anyway.
Yeah. And so, you're tying into that. How do you put that in modern context? It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard in 2021 to kind of be like, well, I'm having such a hard time. Okay, we have COVID and other stuff, but does that compare to the demonstrations in the 60s or some of the things maybe on some levels? But at the same time, you're looking at, a generation of change where, different things. And Mick Jagger,
massive change, and Mick Jagger was,
and Mick Jagger was in the middle of it, right? I mean, it was the Stones concert where the Hells Angels in California, I don't know, like trampled and killed, right? I mean,
they hired the Hells Angels to be the security. They ended up killing somebody.
What part does that kind of go like?
Doesn't make a lot of sense. Altamont, I think is what it's called.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, they said that's where the 60s ended. Was that event?
But I mean, the thing is Mick Jagger is. I think we touched on it once before, is that the guy, he is a artist. He is comfortable in front of the spotlight, and the fact that but it's easy to pigeonhole him because of his looks or his demeanor or his dance moves and the way he is. But he is, just like Keith Richards, he is Mick Jagger. And you put him on Saturday Night Live, which is I think the example I used last time, and the guy can fill the room simply with his presence. Yeah. And you put him on a stage in a stadium, and everybody can feel him.
And he is the personification of charisma. So that's what he is.
Even at whatever 80-something years older, he's got to be pushing. I mean, this album is almost 52 years old.
It's crazy, man.
I mean, 52-year-old album,
and they'd been in business for 5-6 years at that point too when they put this out. So the other one that I didn't mention was
late 70s, man.
Yeah, he's up
there.
Late
70s.
So the other song that I didn't mention that was kind of a hit was Monkey Man, which that might be You Can't Always Get You On is my favorite song by them, but Monkey Man is up in the top 5. I love Monkey Man. Such a great tune. So then on the inside, one side, nothing. I doubt seriously that this is what was originally in the album, because you'll see that I bought it, like a used record store at some point. But you'll see here, so I can see what I'm looking at. But you'll see what they've got here is they've got the track list up here, Rolling Stones, Let It Bleed. And then you go down and they have who performed on each one. Gimme Shelter,
right on.
Love in Vain. This is where I said there's Al Cooper. He was kind of a fairly well-known artist way back then, but he was on here, played the piano, French horn, and organ on that one. But the reason what I was pointing out earlier is that I was saying that on the guitar we had Keith Richards, but Brian Jones right there. So Brian Jones on percussion for Midnight Rambler. But like I said, I knew that he was on this album, Brian Jones was. But it may be, I don't, I feel bad that I don't know the story when it all, which album was his last one. But all he's doing there is playing percussion. When you see him, when he was in Rock and Roll Circus too, and I think on one of those tunes, that's all he was doing too, was playing like tambourine or something. And then this is interesting too, what they put down here. This record should be played loud. It was one of those early days when somebody, I know why I was going to mention that, because do you remember what is on the back of Vinnie Vincent's album? Yeah. This album should be played at maximum volume. It was something like that. It was so silly.
It was so ridiculous. Playing off of something like this.
But yeah, that's what, when I saw this today and I was pulling this album out, I knew we were going to talk about it. I thought more Vinnie Vincent references.
Oh. Yeah. So, dude, we're gonna do a Vinnie Vincent episode.
So then I'll just pull out the record so we can see that too.
Just saying.
Yeah, we have to do a full-on Vinnie Vincent album. Like I said, I don't know if I doubt this is original, but London, Stereophonic, but this is old, this label. This goes way back.
Just the word stereophonic.
Stereophonic, yes indeed. So there's what the record looks like. This one's actually in pretty good shape. I haven't abused this one too much, but that is the Rolling Stones. Ooh, I almost dropped it. That is the Rolling Stones "Let It Bleed" with a pink insert.
Yeah.
Even
more.
We got a theme going here, Gary.
I'm thinking that's more. I'm gonna go Periwinkle.
That's more Periwinkle.
I don't want to get too Vinnie Vincent going.
All right, there we go. So "Let It Bleed" first
good,
album.
not so random first album.
Not so random.
Charlie Watts.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, right?
Yes, indeed. Charlie Watts. So he was 80.
80.
Okay. Yeah. So I wonder if he was the oldest one or where he was in the hierarchy there of age in the Stones. I don't know.
As hard as they've all lived, you would think
we'd have lost more of them.
Yeah.
Lost Brian Jones early. He was a kid.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's see the next one.
All right. What do we got?
Okay, so this one we have to talk about exactly how we're gonna. There's something that we're gonna show in this record that very few people, I think, know about.
I think you showed me this in college.
Yeah, and you have to do it. You have to look at it a certain way, or you won't see the imagery. It's really cool.
Okay.
Anyway, this is
special
obviously.
We might have to edit special effects.
Yeah, I think we're going to make a mirror on the screen so everybody can see what we're looking at. So this is obviously one of the greatest albums, and some might say the greatest. This is definitely Sgt. Pepper's level. And one of the things that's so fascinating about this record too is it's one of those that they didn't put any information on at all. There's nothing written.
There's nothing
anywhere.
on
I don't
there.
think there's anything even on the side. Yeah, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing on this album telling you who this band is. Not a thing.
So what is this? You see it on the shelf and you're like, guy with a bunch of sticks on his back?
Yeah. And then when you open it up, you realize that this is like a wall that's kind of torn out, and then you see the cityscape. I want to see if this. I got to look real quick and see where we are on this. You can see the whole thing.
See it in there?
Good. I got it set up so we can see the whole record. So that's the whole album. Of course, this is Led Zeppelin's fourth album. Now, it's really not called Led Zeppelin IV. It's really not called anything. It's, I've seen it called Runes. I've seen it called Zoso. I've seen it called Four. I've seen it called Unnamed. It's all that. Or what's the other thing? Something like Images or Symbols or something like that. Because 4 signs. Yeah. Because they have the 4 different
sticks,
the symbols that represent each of the guys. But anyway, what an interesting album cover to have, and then once again be one of the greatest albums ever made.
But I think it goes again. I mean, you have the Stones that we just covered, and this is, where it's kind of like almost comical. This is like so understated it leads to, and I think Led Zeppelin's one of those bands, especially because when the song remains the same, that's the movie, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of that imagery and stuff that's, in that era, it's kind of left up to your imagination. So what does this all mean? Like, remember we were talking about the packaging that Led Zeppelin had with Peter Green. Like this
Peter Grant.
Peter Grant. Why did I say Peter Green?
Was it? Yeah, Peter Green's
He's somebody else. Yeah,
yes.
All right. Sorry, Peter Green. No offense. But
Was it Peter Green, Fleetwood Mac? Isn't that who we're talking? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I don't know. I don't know where I got it mixed up.
Okay.
Yes, but the manager. I mean, the thing is that here you have a completely understated album cover, and like you said, leads a lot to the imagination. What is this? What is this going to sound like? Because it goes back to the experience at the store. You're looking at this, and I mean, they might have had something on, like a banner saying "New Led Zeppelin album." You're going.
And on the shrink wrap, I think it said Led Zeppelin. That little sticker. But other than that, there was no indication who this was.
Or what it was going to sound like.
But they were, they were approaching legend status at this point anyway. That people knew who they were
but
all
Led
over
Zeppelin
the world.
3 was completely kind of one of those strange.
Yep.
Because it had the circle and that was a whole different package, which is kind of cool. But at the same time, you're looking at it and going, because Led Zeppelin 3 has a lot of acoustic and a lot of slower
it was different.
type. So now you come out with this bombastic Black Dog,
hey, Mama's in the way I mean, it goes straight into this kind of bluesy.
Goes back to Led Zeppelin 1.
Yeah.
Which was rock and roll, super awesome.
Lots of blues. And then you have Black Dog, you have When the Levee Breaks, that driving blues. Yeah. So much cool stuff. So let's go ahead. Actually, let's pull the album out and just look at the track list real quick. This is interesting on the inside because, and here's what we were talking about a second ago, the symbols. This is why some people think this is the name of the album, and each one of these symbols actually represented
one of the guys.
One of the guys. Of course, this is your Jimmy Page, this is your John Paul Jones, this is your John Bonham, and that's your Robert Plant. Did I get that right? For some reason, I haven't thought about this in 40 years, and I'm questioning myself.
I would get them wrong, but I would.
Somebody will correct me and tell me that I'm really stupid. So funny. I posted that little video the other day that we did of Styx in a Styx forum. Just all this hateful stuff about it. I'm like, dude, I thought it was kind of interesting. Anyway, people get pretty obnoxious just because they feel like they can. So I'll get that wrong, and I'll be like, what an idiot! Has no.
How can you talk about Led Zeppelin and not have it right?
No.
Hey, we're doing this without a net. We're drawing on 40-year-old memories
and stuff.
I mean, did I write this on my notebook in school?
We did at the time, yeah. We knew everything. It was crazy. So anyway, let's go through this track list real quick because you can't. Because Black Dog, like classic Led Zeppelin tune, everybody in the world's heard that song.
Yeah.
It has that weird stuff in the middle where they go out of beat and then they come back together. It's like so great.
And the reverse drum thing, I remember always listening, people saying, on Black Dog, when they do like John Bonham plays like a reverse drum beat.
because they switch time signatures, and then they kind of lose and they come back together, and it's so crazy.
And I remember, guys like Matt or other drummer friends like, you need to listen to this section. He reverses a drum beat where instead of the kick drum and the snare, it's opposite. It's the snare and
maybe that's what it is. But they do this. Yeah, they do that thing where it goes,
really
where it feels
weird.
like it stumbles for a second, and then all of a sudden they're back with each other.
Isn't that what it makes it? Exactly.
It's amazing.
That's what makes it awesome.
Rock and roll. Been a long time since I rock and roll, and everybody knows the lonely, 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 lonely time. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, and the drum fill at the end.
And interestingly, I've played that song in so many bands, and trying to understand the timing. Because the drums, it starts out with the drums, and trying to understand which beat you come in on for the guitar is so hard. It is the weirdest thing. I was in a band once where we sit there and he would count it out, and it was this weird moment where you just go, and you had to hit it just right or you were gone.
Yeah,
and then you kind of stumble through the first couple of measures, and okay, now we're together.
Find your groove. No, but I think isn't that what makes this album incredible? It's just these songs seem simple, sound simple, but they're not. They are, each piece kicks so much ass. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And
hey, Steve, you mind
nuances,
just hitting like don't answer or off or something? I don't know who'd be calling me right now, but... Oh, okay.
Well, last time it was Davy Jones, right? Now it's...
I don't know.
I think John Bonham.
That's right, we're talking about dead musicians. So
here at Three Random Records,
and
we are in touch with the past.
So
they love us so much.
The Battle of Evermore.
Oh.
When I was a kid, I didn't like that song. The older I got, the more I realized that might be the best song on this album. I love that. It's so brilliant. It's so good. The way Robert Plant and that woman, I don't even know her name, but the way Sandy Denny. The way they interplay with each other and the lyrics, and oh my god.
It is a cool song.
So
it is a cool
good.
But before we move on, rock and roll, Jimmy Page's solo is like, it's like buried in the mix. I never understood that. Yeah, he's playing all this stuff, and I'm going, hello? Yeah, I'm like, where are you, Jimmy? Like,
it is weird because he starts out really low.
Yeah.
I've tried to play it before to know, because I can't hear it correctly to do it. So it's kind of, because it's really, really understated. Yeah.
But it's there. I mean, this is the guitar solo, but it's so deep in the mix where all the other stuff's kind of going on. You're like, how come it's not like up front? For whatever reason, Jimmy wants to call in.
Did it that way.
And wants to let us know the secret behind the rock and roll solo buried in the mix. Feel free to chime in
let
as
us
well. But Battle of Evermore. Great
Battle of
tune.
Evermore was just, I still to this day think that's one of their greatest tunes. And there was a version of this on Singles? Yes, it came out in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
That was also top shelf, incredible execute. It was done so well. It's beautiful. Find it, listen to it. It's so good.
I'm thinking of there was a Led Zeppelin, like everybody picked a song like Sheryl Crow and stuff, and I was thinking of, I can't remember what it's, but it came out like late 90s. I thought it was like almost like a tribute album, I guess is what they call them, you know, and I just was can't remember, but I think that's what it was. Yeah, I had some pretty star-studded people.
Yeah,
and redoing some of these, but Stairway to Heaven.
Actually, somebody redid Stairway to Heaven called, I barely even want to mention it because it was such a waste of time and it was such an awful thing to redo this song. But they had, in the 80s, they were called the Far Corporation, and they put out Stairway to Heaven. It was so weird. Like, dude, don't touch that one.
Yeah, but that's like...
Because...
Yeah, no.
Oh, well, that one.
Yeah, that
at
one.
At the Kennedy Center, I played that for my daughter one night, and she actually teared up. I watched that and I tear up. It's because when you get to the end and the chorus comes in, the thing lifts and the chorus, and you're like, oh my! I mean, it's
a great song.
It's one of the most and that was perhaps outside of this the greatest execution of that song ever done.
It's a really,
it's so
really
moving.
great version.
It is so moving the way they put that together, and of course Jason plays on it.
Yeah.
So, which is pretty cool.
Look, I mean, talking about building, I mean, can you get a song that starts out...
There's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and she's buying a Stairway to Heaven.
You know, and it's like...
The Mellotron in there with the flutes.
But it's building up all the time.
And you know what, Jimmy Page is... we could do a whole show on the song. And it's unfortunate that we can't just sit and talk about this, but Jimmy Page talks about this, that they set out to break one very specific rule, which was keeping the tempo the same through the whole tune. He didn't want to do that. This was intentionally going to start out at one speed and end at a different speed, and it was going to speed up as the song went. And to have a drummer that has the ability to just slowly creep up speed ever so slightly, you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
That by the end of this thing, the energy that is coming out of this song, and as it went on down the road, Plant comes in with that stuff, that guitar solo, da-na-na, leaning into it. Oh my gosh!
No, it's
and the lyrics,
awesome.
The lyrics. Robert Plant was a great lyricist. Getting back to what we were saying about, because similarly, he was making references to very intelligent things. You know, it wasn't just stupid crap. I mean, these were very, very thoughtful, beautiful songs, and Stairway to Heaven was, one of the greatest songs ever recorded by a rock band.
Ever. No, without a doubt. I mean, it's like voted the #1 rock song in just about every poll, and rightfully so, because of all the things we just touched on. The lyrics, the speed, the tempo, it starts out
If there's
all
a bustle
dreamy.
in your hedgerow, don't be alarmed now. It's just a spring clean for the May Queen. Yeah. I mean, where do you come up with that?
I don't know. I've got a bustle in my hedgerow. I don't know where that comes from. I mean, somebody writes that. I mean, that's pretty amazing lyrically.
It's so good.
Then,
of course,
side 2,
Misty Mountain Hop. I played that in a band once, and it had some weird time signature stuff too. Great song. Similarly, great lyrics.
No, it's a great song. I like it.
Matter of fact, I should have thought about this before, but just then a policeman came up to us, said, "Hey, now," said, "Would we care to?" "Oh, get in line. We asked him to stay for tea and have some fun." Oh my gosh, it was great. 4 Sticks. I can never sing that one when I hear it. That's the only one on here that I couldn't just start ripping out. That's a cool tune. Going to California.
You
can't,
is a great song.
It's great in every possible way. The lyrics are beautiful. The guitar playing is beautiful.
Right.
Going to California with an aching in my heart, man, just wow. And then, of course,
When the Levee
Breaks. Just that bluesy.
We talked about that. It's
just so good, man.
So good.
So then,
and I think this is, considered, as you said, one of the greatest albums of all time, because they're all hitting their stride. There's so many little nuances here that as you listen to, because an average person listens to it is thinking, that's a great freaking song.
Yeah.
But then you get into all these other things and you're going, well, that's way deeper. You know, whether it's time signatures or things, just what makes it great is it appeals to the masses, and yet a music nerd is going like, did you hear that? Did you see what Jimmy did? See what John Paul Jones did?
And of course,
Listen to
this
Robert
is
Plant.
and Stairway to Heaven's the song that had all the supposed backward masking stuff too. And I remember
playing
spinning,
it backwards,
trying to do it. Yeah, I actually recorded the whole song off of this very one on a reel-to-reel tape machine. Flipped the tape in such a way that it would play backwards, and then had the whole thing, so I could show people where the spots were, even though I think it's total crap. But
no, it's real, man.
Yeah, of course.
That shit's real. No,
So
there were messages. I'm kidding.
For sure.
If you
Anyway,
believe,
so they have the...
Yeah, I'm gonna say, if you believe that there's real messages in there, chime in. Let us know if you've been inspired by the backmasking.
Yeah, exactly.
Led Zeppelin.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, so then of course on the other part of the cover here, they have all the lyrics to Stairway are on the back of the
I think
insert.
we got Steve with the cue here.
Yeah, we don't. He can just reset them. It doesn't
Okay.
have to. We don't have to be involved too much.
All right, I'm not
So
involved.
then this is kind of typical Atlantic
Yeah.
label where they put their. And once again, this is why it really didn't have a name. This was similar to artists formerly known as Prince stuff. It was just a symbol. It wasn't there.
Do you
That's
think he
all there
got
was to
that
this.
From this.
Side one. I don't know. That's kind of a funny thought. And their side two.
Okay, Prince, if you're listening, because everybody else seems to want to chime into
I know.
our show.
Call through.
Call through and let us know if your symbol was inspired by. Oh, I know.
That's what I mean. We've
That's
had
right.
we've had.
But
the
we had
other
John.
side.
Yeah, we have everybody. The phone's
That's
been
what
ringing.
the phone keeps ringing from the other side.
Oh.
So this says audio new 82. I don't know what that means, but it says that on that's etched in. All right, so now here's the part that we needed to take a second and show. And
You know, I looking at the sleeve, I do like the kind of old English type.
Yeah.
What would that be? The text, or the font?
some
I should
sort of
say.
a script.
Yeah,
font
it's pretty
thing.
cool. I like it.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about this inside cover.
But did you mention that these are the lyrics of Stairway
Yeah,
to
Stairway to
Heaven?
Heaven.
Okay.
The lyrics of Stairway to
Just
Heaven are on the
looking at
flip
that
side. This is the thing that a lot of people don't. At least I don't know. I've met a lot of people that have never seen this or understand what's going on here. Now, what's actually happening in the picture is hard to. You've got the Watcher up here, with the Star of David in there, and he's looking down over this mountain, and then you got this little person down here at the very, very bottom that's looking up, towards the top. The way somebody showed this to me originally is he took it up and put it against a mirror. And that's how somebody first showed me this extra image that's in here that a lot of people don't notice. And so what I'm going to do, I don't know, do we go to a mirror? We just don't have a camera to carry over to a mirror. We've got one over there. But it'd be maybe we can try that afterwards if this doesn't work.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, we'll, what's that? Nah. If this doesn't work, then we'll do it against a mirror. The mirror makes it kind of fun.
Yeah, no, it is pretty cool. I remember you showing to me because this was something in college. You were like, "Do you know this?"
Ran to the
about
bathroom. We're like, dude, and we threw it up against the mirror. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to take this image, which is on the screen, and we're just going to go ahead and magically mirror it right now so you can see what we're looking at.
Special effects.
So there you go. So
session,
now you
man.
should be able to see, and then what you're going to see right now is that suddenly appears is that here we have the face of what looks like a jackal or a dog. And it's not something that you would ever notice if you just looked at the album. It's just half of it. But when you put it against a mirror like this, you can actually see this. And you can see what looks like, ears almost coming out of the top. But you can see this, what is pretty, I think, clearly some sort of a
wolf
some sort of a wolf or an animal or a
that's what
jackal
I always
or
thought
something
it was
like
like
that.
a wolf type of.
Yeah, it's really, really fascinating. looking at that. But anyway, I don't know how many people have ever seen that before, and so we wanted people to show this as we're looking at Led Zeppelin IV, because it is kind of an unusual thing. And is it intentional? I have no idea. All I know is that somebody pointed that out to me when I was a younger man, when I was a kid, and I thought, that is the coolest thing that you do that, and you've got this image that pops up.
We didn't have the internet to entertain us, man. So something
yeah, right.
like, whoa, check this out.
And it's the other thing that was always interesting to me about this, not only just the cool image, which is, I mean, you can see the pencil marks, from the drawing, but the fact that it has this very specific tint and color, but then the Star of David has that extra brown.
Yeah.
Of all the things on here, they add brown to nothing else but that. And it was kind of an interesting thing to see.
To accentuate the light.
Yeah. It was just kind of interesting.
I mean, this is an
way.
image. I mean, how many Led Zeppelin T-shirts have this image?
Yeah. It's true. It's so great.
So it is. It's iconic.
Such a great picture. It's such a great image. To open it up after looking at this, you've got this, whatever the heck it was that we were looking at earlier. You've got this image, and then the flip side of it is this other thing, and it's all just this.
There's no
leave
writing
it up
on
to your
it.
imagination.
Yeah,
What is this supposed to be? I don't know.
But I think that's what makes it cool.
Yeah, it's great. Anyway,
open to interpretation.
Exactly. So it seems like we should say something. I mean, it seems like just in the middle of a thing where we just talk about Led Zeppelin IV as if it's just, but I mean, this is such an important album, everything about it. So,
yeah,
anyway, so awesome.
Like you said, we can talk about each song individually. Stairway to Heaven by itself, I mean, they knew it was going to be an important song if you got the lyrics.
Yeah, they were like, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Steve. We got one more record coming, I think.
The other thing about Led Zeppelin and Stairway to Heaven, I mean, they play that song. That's not a 3-minute song.
No, it is what, 7 minutes long, I think?
Yeah.
Over 7?
And I think how many radio stations, classic rock, play it start to finish? I mean, it's not like, I got the edited version. There's no edited version. How could you, right?
It wouldn't make sense.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, that also broke the mold. In a sense, is that you've got this song that's 7 minutes long. It's double your normal airplay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's such an important album and such an important song. So.
Right on.
All right, man.
So what do we got?
What was the last one that we had for this one? Oh, I know what this is. Okay. So this is important. The only reason I brought this out, that I grabbed this one to kind of go with those other two, was because for whatever reason this week, well, I'll show you in a minute. There's something that ties this into something that's been happening to me all week.
Okay.
That a lot of people don't know. Now, Jesus Christ Superstar, most people are familiar with the movie that has Carl Weathers, I think is his name. Carl Anderson.
Apollo Creed.
Yeah, that's right. Carl Anderson, I think is his name. He's the one that plays Judas. Ted Neely is the one that plays Jesus. Yvonne Elliman or something like that plays the Mary Magdalene. I don't know anybody else's names, but that's what everybody knows, is those characters.
Yeah, I think I've seen it once.
But what most people don't realize is when it was first put out, it was not a movie, and it wasn't even a stage play. It was just a concept album. That's what this was. This was the first, I think, as far as I know, this was the first release of Jesus Christ Superstar. This was, what's his name that wrote this? For gosh sake, I could have said it 2 minutes ago, because he'd done the one right before this, Joseph the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I mean, he's done so many huge.
Same writer.
What's his name? Somebody's yelling at the screen right now because I can't think of it. He's like one of the most famous, most famous people in history as far as writing plays go. We'll see his name in just a second. Gal. Phantom of the Opera. I mean, Cats. It's not Sondheim. Sondheim is a different animal.
Yeah,
anyway, Sondheim was way more artsy, weird stuff. So Jesus Christ Superstar. Of course, this was written as a rock opera. There was a concept album.
Okay.
Long before it was on stage, as far as I know, and long before movie. And it's interesting looking at this and thinking about what was being. There's an O in his name, isn't there? Why am I dying right now? Tim Rice wrote the lyrics. Tim Rice and this guy wrote everything, write all that stuff together. Anyway, Tim Rice wrote the lyrics. He did Disney stuff later.
Composer?
Oh my gosh, I feel so stupid right now. Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Jeez.
Lloyd,
I know.
That's where I got the O. Okay.
Lloyd
Jesus Christ
Webber.
Superstar. Andrew Lloyd Webber. So what happens when you don't do this with a net and you haven't thought about it in years. Had this interesting image on the front. This very interesting texture too. It's kind of
it's almost leathery,
like cardboard leathery kind of thing. And they wanted it to probably look that way. When you open it up, look what's on the inside.
More leather.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just more of that color. Then on the back, they have. Now they have the different. Isn't it just a list of people? I should put my glasses on.
I think it's the people that perform it. Is that right?
The lights on. Okay, yeah. So this is the part. The reason that I wanted to bring this up today, but it's very faint. It's very hard to read, and it just says the same thing: Jesus Christ Superstar. And I'll point out this in just a minute. Where I wanted to go with this. So when you look on the inside here, now this is one of, as far as I know, one of the original pressings of this. And they just had the normal kind of insert. Then they had these little, somebody corrected me after the Styx one that they're not called gargoyles, they're called something else, but they're these angels that kind of wrap up around the side. Okay. And are you familiar with the music on this album?
I think I've heard it, but
it's some of this music is really good.
Yeah, no, I know I've heard it.
Executed so well.
I just have not. Again, it's not.
It's all the sides look the same
kind of thing that came in.
Yeah, I understand.
That's all right.
But I want to show you something that's so cool, and the reason I thought of this week, because for whatever reason, I've been seeing this particular band and musician popping up on Facebook and YouTube just for whatever reason a lot this week, and that's what made me think of this. Now, inside this particular album, once again, this is the early pressings of this stuff before this was there it is, Andrew Lloyd Webber, a rock opera by Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice. So October 1970, is that what it says? Yeah. So October 1970. Now this is basically all the lyrics.
50 years old.
The whole thing in here. But this is what I wanted to show you. And this is the part that a lot of people don't know about this original Jesus Christ Superstar. Now here's all the different main players, the main characters. The only one that made it from here into the movie was Yvonne Elliman. And she's right there, number 9. And they have this little thing over here that's kind of that shows you who's who. Oh, so that's key. Yvonne Elliman right there, like a key. And then they actually have Andrew Lloyd Webber, which is number 2. So that means this one's Andrew Lloyd Webber. And then they've got the other people that play the different parts. Now, this is the part that a lot of people don't know.
Okay.
Remember, this was not originally stage movie.
Just somebody.
This is a rock opera recorded, kind of like Tommy, Quadrophenia, that kind of thing. Look who is played Jesus Christ. The Jesus Christ character is number 7. And can you read that right there? That's this guy right here.
Is that Ian Gillan?
Ian Gillan.
Deep Purple?
Deep Purple. He was the original Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ Superstar was Ian Gillan of Deep Purple. Yeah. Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Anyway, so this week
I've been a great voice. I
he's great.
I could see him
and the reason that he picked him is because he was one of those early on guys that had that shrieking, super high voice and could do that really, really high. Listen to like Child in Time, Deep Purple, and that was it. This week, for whatever reason, YouTube started going, hey, you need to watch some Deep Purple. So Deep Purple videos kept popping up, and I'm watching all this stuff, and I'm seeing Roger Glover, and I'm seeing, and then I'm sitting there as I'm looking at this, going, Ian Gillan's voice, man. Then I thought, Jesus Christ Superstar. He was so cool in that. I bet Gary probably didn't even know that was the case, and so I thought we're gonna bust this one out this week because it's kind of interesting.
Ian Gillan, obviously that's Smoke on the Water. Dude.
Smoke on the Water.
So
yeah.
If you're like, wait a minute, who is Ian Gillan? He is Smoke on the Water.
Frank Zappa and the Mothers had the best place around. Anyway, yeah. That's Ian Gillan right there. Singer of Deep Purple, was the original Jesus Christ in Jesus Christ
That's
Superstar.
pretty cool, man.
Kind of interesting, huh?
Yeah, I like the tie-in.
So, anyway, that's kind of a fun little thing. If you've never listened to Jesus Christ Superstar, or if you've ever just listened to the movie version, this one's worth listening to. I have to admit, personally, I love Ted Neely's version, and I love Carl Anderson's version better than this. I think the movie version, personally, they outdid all this stuff. Those guys were so good. They were so good. But I thought the execution on the music itself was not as good in the movie.
Okay.
So, but the vocal execution, especially Carl Anderson, man, you listen to him doing what's the very first song. You want to just listen to a piece of music that'll blow your mind.
That might be. I mean,
listen
something
to that very
I haven't
first
watched
piece.
or seen. Like I said, I think I've seen it once.
Listen to Heaven on Their Minds, the Carl Anderson version of Heaven on Their Minds, and it is so spectacular. His execution of that. Find it on YouTube or something and watch him as he executes it. It's a great story because, when it came out, I remember as a kid, because I was a year old, when this came out, and then it started getting more. Then the movie came out a few years later, and then of course all the Christian people, probably my family included, was all freaked out. Rock and roll, Jesus! It's not right. It's wrong. But it's so interesting because if you really sit down and listen to the words and what's happening in this play, you realize that this is not mocking Christianity. It's actually told, it's the story being told from these two different perspectives, from Judas and Jesus's perspective. And it's actually very sympathetic to the Judas character, because what they're saying, or what happens here, is Judas is basically saying, Judas doesn't get it, and Jesus gets it. And Jesus is trying to explain it to him, but he doesn't get it, and they both don't understand each other, and that's what this movie's about. And Judas is basically telling Jesus, what happened? Because we were out to kind of change the world and to bring peace and harmony and love and all this stuff, and now you're God? We went off the rails somewhere. Yeah. We went off the rails somewhere. This is not, you don't know what, you're going crazy. That's his thing.
You have a God complex?
Yeah, that's what it is. And he basically said, where did all this stuff come from? That's not what this was about. You've lost your way. That's his thing. And then Jesus' response back to him, when you look at his words, is kind of like, I know something you don't know. And it leaves, the great thing about this story is that it doesn't try to convince you of anything.
No,
it tries to make sense. It's kind of like, why would Judas? But it's kind of like, why would Judas do what he did? If it's true, why would he do it?
Tells the story,
and tries to make sense out of why this guy that was his follower would turn on him. And so it kind of tries to answer that question. Maybe maybe the reason is that he didn't believe whatever it is Jesus started to believe. But they're also saying that maybe he wasn't, and he was crazy. Yeah, and that's what's so cool about this story. That's what's so great about this. And I actually love that. And then there's this moment in the movie where this character, and Simon Zealots, and they have this big dance and this big, Jesus, I adore you, love me, Jesus, this whole thing. And it goes through this whole, and it's kind of crazy. And this one moment, it stops, and this Ted Neely says, looks down at all these people, and he goes, neither you, Simon, nor the 7,000, nor the priests or the Jews, anyway, he goes through this whole list, and he goes, none of you understand what glory is. None of you understand what power is. And the way he sings it, it actually brings chills. I'm feeling it right now when you see this, where it's like you watch this character who, whether he really was or not, believes that he has a calling that's bigger than life. And it was so brilliant the way Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber told this story. Anyway, that's why I busted. It was the Deep Purple connection. I thought that was kind of a fun thing.
I'm not gonna lie. I've seen a couple Deep Purple in my YouTube stream, like suggested kind of things, and
came up this week.
Yeah, that's cool that you brought that out.
Anyway, all right. Cool. 3 Random Records. That's right. It's fun. Thanks for watching, and appreciate your time. And we're gonna sign off here. Yep. And once again, follow the channel. Like this video if you liked it. Even if you didn't like it, still like it. Come on. And leave some comments if you have any questions. We actually get some pretty cool comments.
No, we
stuff.
appreciate it. I mean,
So-
you know, as we said, we don't do this with a net. We're calling on 40-year-old memories. We don't get it right. I mean, we're drawing on that hard drive has got a lot of miles on it. You know, it's not recalling as good as it used to. So, I mean, the thing is,
The spindle's a little weak. Yeah.
It's like a 3. But it is cool drawing on some of that stuff, and you know, we're not claiming that we get it 100% right, and so we appreciate you guys chiming in and watching, and so you know, keep the comments coming and suggestions as well.
Indeed. All right,
Thanks,
signing
everybody.
off. Thank you.